Today I'm very excited to show you not only my mix for Stonemountain Orchestra, but to be able to share the multitracks from the tour that we are currently on. In the description there's a link where you can download the multitracks for one song and do your own mix, whether it's on the LV1 or any other system, of course. It's a song from the concert up in Sundsvall a few weeks ago, and it's a quite fun song to mix, so I think you really will enjoy it. And there is only one thing: you cannot publish your mix or any of these multitracks, so it's for training purposes only. So keep it to yourself, show it to your friends, of course, but do not post any of this online. And in the description there's a link to the actual show file I use. So if you really want to dig deep into this, just download the show file and you have my mix. Alright, let's have a listen, and after that I will go through my setup for all of this. And before we have a listen, I just want to say that the mix is meant for a big PA, not studio speakers or headphones, and hopefully it will not be terrible, I hope, but it's really meant for a big PA. Let's go.
Woke up this morning feeling right. Sunshine speaking, kitchen light. Coffee brewing, toast in the air. I got my fingers on, not a single care. Life's been a mess, it's been a bore. And all of last year felt like never-ending chores. Turn up the tune, groove on the floor. It's a kitchen party, who could ask for more? Dance, dance, kitchen boogie, oh yeah. Move around with the sugar and honey, come on, clap your hands, stomp your feet in the kitchen. We create that beat. Hey. Spice it up with a little shake, flipping pancakes, moving bake, slashing syrup all over the place, dancing and eating as the good vibes go. Adding notes with a little swing, stir the bowl, let the Georgias ring. From the morning until the evening, kitchen's where we jam, everybody knows. Dance, dance, kitchen boogie, oh yeah. Move around with the sugar and honey, come on, clap your hands, stomp your feet in the kitchen. We create that beat. Stop ya, moving on the floor. Dance, dance, kitchen boogie, oh yeah. Move around with sugar and honey, come on, clap your hands, stomp your feet in the kitchen. We create that beat. Dance, dance, kitchen boogie, woo yeah. Move around with sugar and honey, come on, clap your hands, stomp your feet in the kitchen. We create that beat. Hey, 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 kitchen boogie, woo yeah. Move around with sugar and honey, come on, now clap your hands, stomp your feet in the kitchen. We create that beat. Dance, dance, kitchen boogie, oh yeah. Move around with sugar and honey, come on, clap your hands, stomp your feet in the kitchen. We create that beat.
Right, that's the song. Now let's have a look at how I mix this. So let's start from the top here and work our way down. And I always use custom layers to get things the way I want it. And layer 1 is my show layer. So I would say about 80-90% of the time I am in this layer. The first few faders here are DCAs. So I have my drums, all of the percussion, music, it's guitars, keyboards, backtracks. I actually don't think there are any backtracks on this particular song, but there are a few songs with backtracks, so those will end up in the music. DCA, and then we have horns, backing vocals, and then I have stuff that I ride through the show. So we have the guitar, three of the keyboards, both backing vocals, and of course the lead vocal and the effects for the lead vocal. So this is more of a placeholder for everything that's below, and below we have drums. So in the multitracks you will notice that there is no kick out mic, and it's kind of a quirky thing about the LV1 that if you mute a channel you will not send that channel to the recording. So you will mute both the sound to the PA and to the recording. And on this show, I didn't like the sound of the kick out. I got a better result with just the kick in. So I muted the kick out, and thus it did not record. So you will have to do with the kick in mic. I mean, it's kind of a standard. It's a gate. It's some EQ, some compression, and the smack attack. And I find that the smack attack is a great way to sculpt the kick and get a bit more punch. So the kick I use for this is the SE. Is it called BL8? I think the kick in mic, and it actually works really nice without any kick out mic. So. That's why I muted the kick out. Normally we have a Audix D6 as a kick out mic, but well, not today. Then we have the snare, and it's actually a group from. Let's go back to. So we have the snare top and the snare bottom, and on the snare top mic, I have a 2.16 millisecond delay. To make it in phase with the snare bottom mic. So both of those mics go to the snare group with some extra saturation, gate, compression, some EQ, and then again smack attack. Moving on to the toms, it's kind of the standard stuff. It's gate, a bit of EQ, and no compression on the channel, but then all of these go to the tom group, where I have a 1176, again the smack attack to get some more length into the toms. Actually, it's the first time I used this compressor for toms, and it was actually my monitor engineer Sebastian who helped me out. I was struggling with the tom, so he helped me out, and so that's why there are dual compressors and then this EQ as well to just make the toms a bit less boxy. So there are basically 3 toms, and the 4th tom is more like a effects tom. So think is actually a kick drum that he turned around somehow. It's kind of low, and then I have the R bass as well on this one, and the torque to get it even lower. So this is more like in some places get a big oomph. Right, then we have all the shiny stuff, the hi-hat and the cymbals, and on this tour we actually mic each cymbal with its own mic and mic from underneath, and doing it like this gives us a bit less stage noise in the cymbal mics. So we have a hi-hat ride. This is a kind of a effect stack crash thing, and then 2 crashes. All of these goes into the metal group for further processing. So here we have a bit of EQ and then the DBX 160 compressor. Then we have the reverb for the snare and the toms, and then all of this goes into the drum group, where I start off with the IDX, so basically some multiband compression, then going into the API 2500, and then some curves EQ. So let's actually have a listen to all of the drums, and actually the bass is within the drum group. It did not fit on this layer, so it's on this layer. So the bass has some NLS, a bit of EQ. I think there will be some movement here when he starts to play, and then the LA3A. So let's have a listen to just the bass and the drums. Right, that's bass and drums. Let's move on. Next layer is, well, the bass is on this layer, even though it is routed through the drum group. Then we have guitar, and when I started off this tour, the Curves AQ was not released yet. So I started with the F6, now I used the Curves AQ. This one is then going into the DBX 160, and this is in dual stereo, so left and right is processed independently. And the thought process here is, try to stay with me. So the guitar play is placed to the left on the stage, so I have the left gain a bit louder, so basically panning the guitar player a bit to the left. But then I compress the left side more than the right side. So when the guitar player pressed the solo pedal, the overall guitar volume comes up, but it's more compressed on the left side, so it kind of comes up a bit more on the right side, and thereby moving the guitar a bit more to the center. So it's basically an automatic pan control. Then we have some keyboards, and we have two keyboard players. So this is stage right and this is stage left, and it's basically just some EQ. Next one is again the Curves AQ, and again I started with the F6 and then switched to the Curves AQ when I got it. And on the second keyboard I just have the F6 still. Then we have some backtracks. Actually we have, this is click and voice guide, and then we have tracks. But on this song there are no tracks. So, but all of this go into the music group, starting with the Pugue Child compressor, then moving into the Curves AQ, and this one is sidechained to the lead vocal. So the only thing it does is I use this mix sense thing. So this one only removes clashing frequencies from the music based on the vocals. Then this is doing kind of the same thing, but in another way. It's again sidechain to the vocals. So if we just press play here, we can see that this is taking out some of the high mids when the vocalist is singing. Same thing with this one, but this one has a bit more precision. Alright, so that's the music group. Then we have the click and voice guide. Again, we have the click and voice guide here, but we have it again over here, and I will show you why in a bit. Moving on, we have some vocals, and here again we have the click track, and this is just a visual cue for me to get the show started, because the whole show starts with a click track that obviously just is for the in-ears, for the people playing, but then there's a like a big crash, and then Oliver starts to talk. So I have the house music on a external sound card, so as soon as I see the click, I turn the house music down and then turn up Oliver, and you never know if he is going to speak softly or if he is going to yell, or so this can go up and down like 30 dBs depending on the mood of Oliver. Then we have Jonna and Tilda backing vocals. I mean, it's very standard. It's a PSE, it's some EQ, and of course the LA2A. Both of these are sent to the wide effect, so this one even more gating than removing high end and low end, and then there's a doubler thing here, so both of those vocals are then doubled into 4 more. So for each song I can have more or less of the vocal doubling effect. All of this go into the backing vocal group with, well, even more gating, even if it's quite gentle. Some C4, and then some more top end, and removing a bit of, in this case, around 500.
Dance, kitchen boogie. Oh, come on, clap ya, stomp ya, your feet in the kitchen. We create that beat. Hey!
Then we have the lead vocal with basically the same thing. PSE, some EQ, compression. This then goes into the vocal group for some C4, and the BB tubes for some extra saturation and the nice super high end from this one. And for vocals I only use 3 effects. So I have a hall reverb, it's the H verb, and then there's a plate, and this one is from the Bricasti M7 impulse response, and then a H delay going into a doubler just to get it in stereo. Right, then we have percussion and horns. So we have congas, some bongos. This one's called stuff. It's just some cymbals, some cowbells, some whatever noises they make. Then we have the percussion 2. This is overheads for the percussion world. So I think in this song you can hear as well, the mics are like this, so they have some shakers that they do some stereo panning, kind of cool stuff. Then we have the SPDX for some there are some bacon sounds, and some there are a few funny sounds coming from this one. Then we have a reverb for the conga and bongos. Again, the are live, and it's another Bricasti M7 impulse. All of this go into the percussion group. This is technically an aux. It's the monitor 1 aux that I use as a group. So if we have a look here, all of these are sent post fader to the monitor 1 aux, and this one is then routed to left right. Right, then we have some horns and kind of the same thing on all of this. The PC to just clean up stuff, some EQ. In this case, not a whole lot of EQ. There might be some movement over here. Then the RVox, all of this, well, there's a horns reverb as well. So it's the RVerb, kind of a short chamber thing. All of this go into the horns group where I do quite heavy lifting. So this one is even more compression, and going into this one for even more compression. And you know, sometimes it's just one saxophone and sometimes it's all 4 of them. So the dynamic range is huge, and that's why I have one compressor on each horn player, then going into this one to smooth things out. And this one, if there's only one of them playing, this one isn't doing anything. But if all 4 of them are really hitting things, this one will kind of glow. All of this goes into the Curves EQ to kind of smooth things out. Alright, so that's all of the instruments. All of these end up in the left-right bus. And it all starts with the Curves EQ. And this one isn't doing a whole lot, but it's kind of cleaning up stuff. This one then goes into the SSL compressor, and the songs are really dynamic. So on the loudest parts of the loudest songs, this one might hit 4 dBs of gain reduction. A lot of the time it doesn't do anything. Then I have the F6, and by default this one isn't doing anything, but it's just to have a quick way if I during the show need to make some changes for the whole mix. Then I have this one over here. Then all of this feeds into the L2 for basically just more volume. This one isn't really doing any compression or limiting. I mean, it might take a dB on certain hits in certain songs. So it's really more of a safeguard and to get the volume up. So that's kind of the mix, but there's a lot of other stuff going on as well. So let's have a look, and let's start with the matrices. So the left-right mix that we just heard, this one is then fed to the PA matrix, also to the subs. Then I have the matrix for the front fill, and this is set up so that I can, there's an F6, but basically I can, last time I used this, I just sent vocals, backing vocals, and the music group to the front fills, because all of the drums were so loud on stage anyway, so I didn't need them in the front fills as well, because the front fills are really for the first and maybe second row of people, so they will hear the drums, trust me. But I can, of course, mute all of these and just send the whole left-right mix. And when aligning things, I have the house music or my test songs, and also the pink noise. Then if there's another fill, this is identical to the front fill. Then I of course have my headphones, and here I send of course the Q mix But then I send Oliver, who is the kind of MD, up on stage. He talks to the musicians, and if I want to hear what he has to say, I just put on my headphones and I have him over here. I also have Sebastian's, the monitor engineer's talkback microphone going to my headphones, and if I want, I have the voice guide as well. Basically, I have the same thing for the shout box. I often use these ones as my shout box. So if we go to the shout box, yeah, I have the cue, Sebastian's talkback, Oliver's MD mic. I have the click track if I want it, and the voice guide as well. Over here I also have the music, the house music, and my pink noise. Then we have the last page here, and now it's routing bonanza. We have starting, it's just the same as on this one. It's the music and the pink noise. We have Sebastian's talkback. If I turn this down, it will still be in my headphones, but not in the shout box. Same thing for Oliver's MD mic. Same thing for the click and the voice guide. Then we have the audience mics, and all right, try to stay with me here. The audience mics are obviously not going to the PA. It's going to the in-ears for the musicians, but also, let's see, on the audience mics, I have a wild compressor, basically a limiter. This one is side-chained. Up here you can see it's side-chained to the audience sidechain group. And what's sent to this group is horns, drums, and music. So basically everything except vocals. So as soon as someone plays something, the compressor on the audience mics are being dropped quite a lot. So if someone is talking, nothing happens. As soon as someone plays, the level is dropped, because this one is then sent to the TikTok matrix. So let's have a look at the TikTok matrix. Here we have the left-right mix plus the audience mics, but just a bit of them. So when the band is playing, the volume is dropped, and as soon as they stop playing, the audience mics go up. So I have some of that in this matrix going into this Abbey Road thing for some extra EQ, a bit more compression, and there's a spreader as well to just make it a bit wider, going into a limiter. So the thought process is I have the left-right mix plus some audience mics, but the audience mics are lower in volume. As soon as the band plays, then they come up kind of between songs, and then just some extra levels so that the file that we actually record is ready for publishing. And then lastly we have the light. So this one is going to the light guy, and he is listening to left, right, Sebastian's talkback, Oliver's MD mic. I have pink noise just to make sure that it works. He has a lot of the click source and of course the voice guide. So that's what Zach is listening to. All right, that's it. Download the multitracks, download the show file, and just have a go. And if you have any questions, let me know. Take care.